I'm Mark.
And I'm Josh.
And this is Alter Ego Comics TV, episode number 124. I'm back after 2 weeks of not being here, and Josh doing an amazing job. The first episode that he did was Josh with himself. It was Josh and Josh. It was a great split screen thing. I really enjoyed it. I watched it from the sunny skies of Florida. And last week it was great. Thanks for giving your recommendations as far as things you can read when your favorite series are on hiatus, much like the TV series that are not on during the summer. But I'm glad to be back and to share my 2 cents with you. And I really was disappointed that I was not here to talk about Man of Steel because it's just created this brouhaha within the fan community. I did get a chance to see it. I liked it. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it as much as a lot of people are. In fact, I thought it was a very solid movie and a good restart to the Superman franchise. I know Josh talked about it briefly last week, and we got some comments on last week's episode. And again, it seems to me like it's kind of like a 70-30 or an 80-20 in favor of Man of Steel. What do you think?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's not necessarily I think most people are somewhere in that 70-80% themselves. I don't think some people really truly loved it, but most people have at least some reservations because it is a significant shift in the tone from the previous Superman movies. So, but no, overall there were positive responses.
And I mentioned to some people, while I didn't agree with everything that the filmmakers did as far as changing the nature of Pa Kent and really making Superman more of a brooder and less of an iconic, symbol of truth, justice, and the American way. The thing to keep in mind is that this is the first movie. This is his first, week or two as Superman. He walked into his spaceship and got the meeting with the hologram of his father. And in the original Christopher Reeve Superman movie, he was there for like 10 years. I mean, he was in the Fortress of Solitude for at least a decade, learning how to be a great Superman. This guy doesn't know how to be a great Superman. He's learning about his powers. He's learning how to interact with humans now that his identity is kind of public. So in that respect, you just need to keep those things in mind and not judge it. So many people are like, Superman wouldn't act this way. Superman wouldn't do this. Well, this is a different Superman for a different era. And again, it worked for me. While I didn't agree with everything that they did, I could understand why they did it. You too, apparently. Josh is not. But if you want to continue the discussion, do it down below or on our Facebook page, because I'm sure the one thing I do like about it is it's created more discussion about a superhero movie than anything that I can remember in the last 10 or 20 years. It really, there's a lot of discussion and debate about this, which I think is good. All right, speaking of good things, first up for me this week, Lazarus #1 by Greg Rucka and Michael Lark. This is the creative team behind Gotham Central, which was an amazing comic published by DC Comics about a decade ago, give or take. And this is creator-owned work. It is Rucka writing a strong female lead, which is one of the things that he does best. And Michael Lark's artwork is outstanding. Basically, it is a time in the future where it's kind of like that... I haven't seen the movie yet because it's not out yet, but Elysium, the trailer for Elysium, where Matt Damon is with the have-nots and Jodie Foster is with the haves out in space. So the wealthy people that are doing well live up on a space station someplace or on another planet, and the poor people are down on Earth. And Lazarus is kind of like that. There are certain families that control huge pieces of property. There's a member of each family that has certain abilities. They're called the Lazarus member of the family, and basically it means they can't die. We don't know a whole lot about it because it's just the first issue, but Forever Carlisle is the Lazarus of the Carlisle family. And it's a whodunit, it's a futuristic, little bit of sci-fi, lots of action, all the stuff that Rucka and Lark do well. We like it so much that we're offering a money-back guarantee on it. Pick it up, try it out. If you don't like it, bring it back and we'll give you store credit.
My first pick this week is also a #1. It's Uncanny #1 from Dynamite. It's written by Andy Diggle with art by Aaron Campbell. Diggle's probably best known for his work on The Losers, which was made into a feature film a few years ago, which was super awesome. Also known well for his runs on Superman and Hellblazer for quite a while. Uncanny is, again, it's an original story. You've got a guy who has an innate ability to, when he touches someone, to gain brief flashes of their skill sets, of their knowledge. You might shake hands with a world-class poker player, and for the next few minutes, he knows everything they know. He can do everything they do. And it's very cool. It starts off with him in a bad way, gambling in a casino, and as scenes in casinos go, he doesn't end well for him. It's not a pleasant thing. But it's very cool to see the way he utilizes these abilities and plays people's strengths against them. And there's a broader intrigue that gets involved that gets kicked up at the end of the issue. And I really enjoyed it. Andy Diggle does a great job with kind of borderline cases, people who aren't really good or aren't really bad, but are very interesting and very human portrayals. So Uncanny #1 was a great read this week.
I would say if you're a fan of Thief of Thieves, you might want to check out Uncanny. Also great to see Dynamite doing a series that is not a licensed property, that's not Red Sonja or Warlord of Mars. Or it seems like Dynamite is really getting their act together as far as signing some A-list creators and doing some really original work. We'll stay in independent land and go with The Wake #2 by Scott Snyder and Sean Murphy. Wake #1 was universally praised by the staff here at Alter Ego and by the world at large. It was just an amazing comic. It's a 10-issue miniseries, kind of horror, underwater thriller, and Scott Snyder is just such a great writer. He's doing a great job on Batman. He did a great job on Swamp Thing. But his creator-owned stuff is really my favorite, American Vampire and now The Wake, and he did another book called Severed, which Josh talked about last week. The Wake is everything I want it to be. I love underwater thrillers like The Abyss and maybe Leviathan. I don't know. I'm referencing movies that many of you were not alive when they came out. But it gives Sean Murphy a great chance to show off his artistic skills and his penciling skills, because it's really tough to draw things underwater. Also, they're in cramped quarters. They're on an underwater drilling platform, and they took a submarine to get down there, and so you're not seeing big, scenic expanses. You're seeing very restrictive things. I think he's doing an amazing job with it. So again, you really cannot go wrong with The Wake. It's a 10-issue miniseries published by Vertigo, and Vertigo is making a strong push to be relevant again in our society, starting with The Wake and moving forward with things like Jeff Lemire's Trillium and Sandman returning later in the year from Neil Gaiman, and I'm really excited about what they're going to do, because some of the best comics ever written were published by Vertigo.
Next up, back on the Marvel side of things, or to the Marvel side of things for the first time, is Age of Ultron 10 AI. What's that you say? Didn't I pick up Age of Ultron 10 last week? Yes, you did. Well, this week it's 10 AI. It's a book that picks up from the end of the series, but you don't actually have to have read the series to follow it. It's actually really cool that way. It's written by Mark Waid with art by...
Don't even try.
Mr. Ararugo.
It's written by Mark Waid. That's all you need to know.
It's written by Mark Waid. Those are all the words that are required. And this is the story of Hank Pym. This is basically a love letter to one of the founding Avengers. This is Wade pulling chunks of Pym's history that have not been referenced a whole lot lately, or in some cases wholly new revelations in his history, and putting it firmly in the current continuity. A lot of times, Marvel Universe has always existed in sort of a now or the last 5 years. You can always kind of gauge the age of the Marvel Universe by looking at how old Franklin Richards is. Figure Franklin's 5, Reed and Sue probably went up in space about 7, 8 years ago. And so things sort of cycle out, Ben and Frank, I keep calling Reed Richards Franklin. Reed Richards and Ben Grimm, were originally soldiers in World War II, and then they were soldiers in Vietnam, and then they were soldiers in Desert Storm, and now I don't even know if they're soldiers at all anymore. But continuity keeps getting shifted, and we're never really clear what's in and what's out, and this does a great job of bringing Ant-Man's whole story into one through line that you can follow in the universe, and it's really good. Ant-Man has been kind of destroyed a couple times back and forth by different writers. His characterizations have been all over the place, and I really like that Wade took the trouble to make him relevant, make him human, and something you can actually really relate to. And it's just a great book. And it's a good pick-me-up if you're concerned that maybe, I don't know, in like a year or two there might be an Ant-Man movie, and you wanted to get in like on the ground floor. This is probably where I'd start.
You'd have like arrows pointing or like bells going off. That is a fact. There will be an Ant-Man movie. It looks like it's going to be Hank Pym as Ant-Man. Alrighty, finally for me, Captain America #8, written by Rick Remender, artwork by John Romita Jr., and I love this series, the end. That's all I need to tell you. This is, I've talked about nearly every issue, and this one is just another, I've spoken about a few issues in the past that are just gut punches, and this is another one. I audibly gasped as I was reading this comic. Basically, Captain America is stuck in another dimension where time passes differently. He's been there for over a decade and has raised a young child that was the crazy offspring of Armin Zola, right? Is it Armin? That guy. Armin Hammer. It was Armie Hammer. No, he's the Lone Ranger.
He's the Lone Ranger, yeah.
And he's raised this kid as his own and basically helped him escape, or depending on your perspective, stole him from Zola. the child has been returned to Zola, and the brain has been brainwashed into hating Captain America. So you see this struggle. You can see it in Captain America's face, thanks to John Romita Jr.'s artwork, that this child that he's been with for the last 10 years and raised as his own has now been pulled away from him and now hates him and wants to kill him. And it's emotional, it's exciting, it's new and different. I really think this is going to go down as one of the best Captain America stories of the last 25 years, including the stuff that Brubaker did. I mean, he did some awesome stuff. But Remender's work on this is so different, and so it's almost polarizing. I know some people that left the book because they couldn't handle the sci-fi alien aspect of it, but it's just such a good read. Thank you, Rick Remender, from the bottom of my heart.
And last up is my pick of the week, the 800-pound gorilla in the room, Superman, Batman, #1. Batman, Superman #1. Because what you want to do is cancel a series and then give it another series with the words just inverted.
Because Batman sells better than Superman. I was at a meeting where they said that. They said, we're not calling it Superman, Batman, we're calling it Batman, Superman, because Batman sells better than Superman.
Because people can't be bothered to read the whole title. If they just see Superman first, they're like, well, I don't want to read that.
Attention span is what
doesn't matter what the second word is, I'll just ignore it. Batman, Superman, #1, is written by Greg Pak, who has a great tradition of taking characters that have been written over and over again and making them new and fresh again. Best known for his long run on the Hulk, which included Planet Hulk and some of the best Hulk stories the last couple decades. And art by Jay Lee, who is really not done a whole lot of interior pencils lately. His most recent work was Ozymandias, but he's best known for his really just crazy panel layouts, and that's true to form here. We got really interesting layouts, cool stuff to set it up, and this is a story of the first time Clark and Bruce meet and the first time Superman and Batman meet, both in the new continuity and maybe a little bit in the old. Some question there, but it's really cool. It's dynamic. They give them great characterizations, and they don't overlap things we've seen before, because we've seen the first meeting of Superman and Batman about a dozen times. So they take kind of a new spin on it and give us interesting things. And the back half of the issue is not what I expected. I was expecting we don't like each other at first, and then maybe we'll team up and save some people. And then it got weird. It got interesting, which is good, because I've read
into fan fiction.
Basically, like, some jazz music started playing. It was crazy. But no, it was really cool. It excited me and surprised me in a story that I was sort of expecting to go as wrote, and they made it very interesting, and I'm super excited to check out the next issue.
Super excited to check out Batman, Superman.
Not Superman, Batman, because people wouldn't buy that.
No. This was just an amazing week. In fact, Josh was unpacking the shipment earlier this week and said there is a ridiculous amount of good stuff in the shipment, and he was not lying. Great comics to choose from at your local comic book store, and if that's us, we hope you'll come see us and listen to us rave about all that is good in the world of comics. So thank you, as always, for watching. Leave your comments below, and we'll see you next week.